Right, this time at the Quick Speed Shop, I got a vintage throwback one for the C10. Right here, I'm cloning my dad's truck. I'm talking about wheels today. That's right, slot mags. I've got some options. They're vintage, they're awesome, but there's something wrong with this one. And I didn't realize it when I bought it. That was a mistake. Uh-oh. I got a whole pile of vintage lug nuts and washers and spacers and nonsense. What does all this do? I don't know. Let's go through it. I'll explain how these wheels work and what the options are. Any way you cut it, it's not good and it's expensive. So if you want to find out why, let's start talking about slot mags and C10 trucks and $100 bills and old rusty lug nuts. All right, here I've got some vintage slot mags, 15x7s. I only got 2 of them, and I'm not sure who made them. They're made in Mexico. On the back there, Fume S.A. Mexico. But I bought them last year at the Piston Powered show in Cleveland at the swap meet inside the show. And the reason I bought them is they're 5-on-5 bolt pattern, which this truck is. It's a 5-on-5 bolt pattern. And that's like your, I think 71 and up pickup, half-ton pickup, 2-wheel drive is 5-lug. 5-on-5, and then like the big cars like Cadillac, big Buick, big Oldsmobile, big Pontiac, and Caprice wagons were 5-on-5. Everything else Chevy was 5-on-4 3/4, or 4-wheel drive trucks were 6-lug. So I bought these 2 wheels. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you the pitfalls of buying stuff at swap meets. You got to look all the time when you're looking. But first of all, the reason I bought them was they're direct drill. They're not unilug or slotted or anything or variable bolt pattern. Most of these aluminum wheels you see back in the day were what they called a uni-lug, where they had a lug nut and a washer, and it was oblong. You could change it and change the bolt pattern of the wheel. These holes are actually slots, and I'm going to show you. I've got some vintage lug nuts from my dad's stash from back in the day, and I set these guys aside. I actually have some unilug washers here. They actually say unilug right on them, and they would go out, and you would use a unilug lug nut, which is here, and it's a shouldered, I guess you'd call it, lug nut that goes through the wheel, and it would, instead of like modern style wheels, you use a modern style lug nut that's got a taper right on the lug nut like this, and they just bolt down to the wheel, and the wheel has machined, well, I can show you here. Like these, a modern style wheel has a conical, spot in the wheel, and a modern style lug nut would just bolt in there, and the lug nuts would center the wheel and hold it on to the vehicle. That's how most modern wheels are now. These are like 90s C10 wheels on this truck right now. So back in the day when they made these mag wheels, and one company like ET Mags and US Mags and all those companies wanted to make one wheel pattern but wanted it to be sold for multiple different cars, they would make the unilug, and you would get the wheel and it would have a machined slot in it, and you would get a set of these washers that say it actually would be machined this way. So if you had the washer in, it would be 5-on-4.5, and then you would get a neutral washer where the oval, the hole was in the center of the oval, so you'd put that in the middle for 5-on-4 3/4, and then if you wanted to go 5-on-5, you would flip the washer around this way, and it would space the lugs out so you could fit 5-on-5. That way, they could sell one wheel that would match, Fords, Chevys, and then big bolt pattern GM and other things like that. So I don't like these. I think it's too much monkeying around. You're taking a tapered washer, and you're taking like a shoulder lug nut, and you're putting it all together. You're putting this guy together, and then it's got to go in the wheel. The wheel's got to be clean and true, and then the lug nut, you need the right length shoulder. This shoulder's got to get close to touching the like the drum or the rotor. I don't think it would actually touch it. I think you want just a little bit of gap so you could hold pressure on the wheel. If it bottomed out and it wasn't tight on the washer, then the wheel could chuck around. But it would go in the slot and bam, lock down, and you'd have your unilug wheel. And I know they ran thousands and thousands of people ran unilug wheels back in the day, and you see them, they get loose and they wear. So let's go where we don't have too much glare here. We got a lot of glare going on. So this was in 1980 after my dad painted his truck. And if you see the wheels here, we got, these are ET slot mags with Goodyear polyglass bias ply tires on them. Looks like they are G6015s, and I guess it's G6015s all the way around, from what I can tell. But the wheels are staggered. It looks like he's got 15 by 8s on the back and 15 by 7s on the front. But the center cap is plastic most likely, and it's got a green sticker that would say ET. I don't know if it'll focus enough to see it, to pick it up for you guys, but it says ET on the center of the hubcap. So I want to replicate that look, and I don't know if these are what kind of mags these are, and actually I can't even tell. I think these wheels are unilog. I'm pretty sure I can see the offset. You guys probably can't see it, but I'm pretty sure I can see the slotted offset oblong washer. Yeah, I can. I can see that oblong washer, and it is spun to the outside because that truck was 5-on-5, just like this truck is. So I can see the washer spun to the outside. So he had ET mags, unilug, with this style washer. So, like I said, I'm not a fan of unilugs, so I jumped on a set to buy, or jumped on, when I saw these, I jumped on them. I forget what I paid for them. I want to say like $175, $150, $200 for the pair of them. I can't remember. This one was on top, and I was kind of in a hurry. I was all excited with Ted. We were walking around. Might have been drinking some of the Wobble Pops. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyways, I popped on them. 5-on-5. The guy actually had wheels and hubcaps and lug nuts and stuff. He is a big-time swap meet guy. He got me the actual washers. He had like brand new washer bins, and he got me the actual washers that you need for these wheels. So these, since they're not unilug, but they still use a washer to mount the lug nut on, like that. And I dug around this bin. I actually found some old Cragar, right there, Cragar, half 20 shouldered lug nuts that are straight shank, because the unilugs, since they went on them washers with the, they are tapered, and they would sit into the unilug washer has got the taper, and that's how the lug nut tightens up. These are actually shouldered straight to fit to the flat washer, and they go through the wheel. That holds tight. Oh, I lost it. Dang it. Come here. They actually go through the wheel, boom, like that, and then they lock in, and that flat washer, it seats pressure with the straight lug nut onto the flat washer, and then it comes through the wheel. These are too long. You see that? They're sticking out way too long. But it would bolt to the, the rotor of the hub, and it would have flat pressure. Now you want to make sure that they're tight, because you don't have any kind of conical action, to ramp it in to hold friction. So these, I'm not sure if these would have to touch. Probably not, because the chrome's not wore off, but they would have to be tight, and they would have to sit on that flat washer, and a flat washer would hold the pressure on the wheel along with a lug nut and hold those on. So I'm sure I can go to some lug nut company, or maybe even Cragar, and buy these 1/2" by 20 straight shank lug nuts like that. I have the washers, 10 washers, but I'm sure I could buy another set of lug nuts to run these, and that'd be all fine and good. And then I could probably find eventually another set of like 15 by 8 wheels for the back somewhere. They're hard to find. 5-on-5 is hard to find, not in unilug. So I would have to look around. It took me over a year to find these. So I'm sure they're out there, just be hard to find. Most of them are 5-on-4.5, or 5-on-4 3/4 if they're straight drilled. And then the majority of them are unilug. So it's very hard to find. And the majority of them are 14-inch, because most of these wheels went on cars, not on trucks. So finding a 15-inch set is pretty hard. The 14 inches are all over the map. So anyway, speaking of the Piston Powered Show, I'll be going there March 28th through the 30th. Come see me, come see Ted. We'll have the Model A Hot Rod Shop Truck there at the IX Center in Cleveland. We'll be there all 3 days for the show in the Hot Rod Asylum Ballroom. So come and we'll be at the round show somewhere. Come check it out. So I thought it was a big score to get these wheels. I'm like, man, 5-on-5 pattern, that's rare, it's hard to find. They're not unilug. I was in the money. So I bought them, got them out to the truck later, come home, we check them out closer. I got looking up close, uh-oh. This wheel has a problem. Somebody ran these lugs loose, and it oblonged that hole, it oblonged that hole, it oblonged that hole, and it started to oblong, well, it kind of oblonged all the holes. See how loose that is? And see how really loose that one is? And this one, I can't even get the, I'd have to do a little bit of filing, but they should fit tight. Like these are really tight. That one is super tight. It needs a tiny little bit of filing to get it in there. This one, there's just a tiny little burr there, but they're very, very tight compared to that and that and that. So I don't know if with the washer on it, you know, oh, look at that. The lug nut fell right off it. You can see the threads in the side of the wheel there. The lug nut actually fell off and it started chucking around the wheel. So this wheel was on its way falling off. So I don't know if you put that down with a washer, it would probably lock down and be tight and be okay because the washer is what holds the wheel good. It would probably work, or else somebody didn't have these and just bolted a lug nut on upside down just to hold them on something for a roller, and it did that. I don't know, but so maybe it would be okay. You know, if you can get the washer in there, it might be okay. I'm not sure. What I really don't want to happen is the wheels that come off the truck, right? Because I'm going to run these wheels on the front most likely, and I don't want a wheel coming off the front of the truck. And there's a company called, I think it's US Mags, that sells like through Summit Racing. They sell brand new slot mags that use modern style conical lug nuts to seat. So they got a conical taper, and you can get them in whatever bolt pattern you want, drilled correctly for a conical lug nut, just like modern aluminum wheels like this one. So the only problem is they're $200 and something a piece, so I'd have to spend $800 on wheels for the truck. But is it worth it to have 4 brand new wheels with modern style lug nut technology that's matching versus one wheel that's sloppy and one wheel that's nice, and then trying to find other wheels, or maybe have to go with unilug on the back, so then they have 2 sets of lug nuts and different washers and stuff. It seems like a lot of monkeying around to try to make the old school action work. I don't know. So what would you do? Would you spend the money just, you know, it's going to ruin your day if the wheel comes off the truck and it smashes the fender and the body. Like, aluminum wheels are temperamental to begin with. Modern style conical wheels, you can torque them to like, you know, 90 or 100 foot-pounds, and they're going to grab on the conical seat and kind of hold on. I don't have any experience running this type of wheel, and I don't know if they loosen up quickly, if they are better than conical. Like, I got to imagine that this with a flat washer, like, you put it on there, you put it on there with a flat washer, there's no, you're just relying on the flat surface to hold. Like, the conical can like wedge in there, and it's a wedge, right? And the wedge is going to hold tight most likely. This is a flat surface, and I'm not sure the grip strength of a little flat washer in a hole like this versus a conical lug nut. I mean, they've kind of standardized in conical lug nuts for a reason, I would imagine. So, do I really want to take the chance of the wheels coming off the truck versus spending and ruining the truck? Like, you stuff a wheel falls off and gets stuffed in a fender and a door. You've ruined the fender, you smashed the rocker panel, the door. Like, you've done way more than $800 worth of damage if the wheel comes off. So that's where I'm like, man, I can't afford that to happen. I've already got one compromised wheel. Like this one, I'm not scared to take, if I could get a set of the correct lug nuts. I mean, these would work if I had one more. I got to look, and I don't think I've got 5 in here. Most of these are unilug, regular pattern. See, oh, so look, these are different lengths too for different wheels. But most of these are, yeah, they're all unilug. They're all unilug in there, as far as I can tell. So for whatever reason, there's only 4 of these Cragars. And maybe everybody running original Cragars runs that style wheel. I'm not sure. That style lug nut, I'm not sure. I've never had Cragars on anything, so I don't know. Most Cragars are unilug, but I think they're unilug like that with a tapered washer and the tapered seat. This wheel would be perfect for a spare. This truck had a spare that goes under the bed. My dad always ran a spare. Now, it was probably a steel wheel, I'm going to imagine. And I don't know if I'm going to run the spare under the bed because I kind of want to put a trailer hitch on this. And he had a pipe bumper, a tube bumper. Well, you can see it here. He had this tube bumper on the back here. Oh, you can't see it because there's a shine. On the back, he had a piece of pipe for a bumper. And in 1980, he's using the stock bumper irons. Later on, he sucked the pipe back in. And then in about 1984 or 5, he welded a plate to the bumper pipe and he put a hitch ball on it, just like fixed hitch ball, and it stuck straight out from the bumper. I don't want to do that. And the license plate hung under the pipe. I kind of want to build a hidden receiver hitch where the license plate mounts in the receiver under the tube, so it looks like his truck did originally, but when I pull the license plate out, I can have a receiver hitch under the back. But you can't really run the receiver hitch with the spare tire because on the short box frame, the spare tire comes right out, almost sticking out of the back of the bed because the way they had the rear bumpers sticking out past the bed, they had room to stick the tire out past the bed as far as I could tell in pictures. And I don't know if I could have room to have a receiver hitch with a spare tire mounted under the bed. So what I might do is use this rim for a spare and have it in the box or loose in the back of the bed for a spare wheel, right? So I don't know, it can match. You know what the really sad part is I have tons and tons of slot mags that are correctly drilled, not unilug, because that's ones I buy them. But everything I concentrate on is 5 on 4.5 Mopar / Ford pattern. So I've got probably 12 or maybe even more. Yeah, at least 4 full sets of slot mags like this that are 5 on 4.5 inch bolt pattern that are about the shape of this, but they use conical lug nut, modern style lug nuts. Most of them do. I got to look, but I've got like say 4 sets of them. So I got plenty of sets of slot mags that I could run on this truck if they're the right bolt pattern. So that leads to, do I want to run wheel spacers or wheel adapters to go in from 5 on 5 pattern to 5 on 4.5, and then I could run a set of wheels I already have. I can buy a set of wheel adapters for like $100 because the newer Jeep JK Wranglers are 5 on 5, and a lot of people like to run older Wrangler wheels on them, so there's a ton of companies that make 5 on 5 to 5 on 4.5 inch wheel spacer adapters for Jeep Wranglers that would probably bolt on this truck, and then I could run my 5 on 4.5 inch direct drill slot mags. That's an idea. I'm not really a big fan of wheel spacers because then anytime you want to take on the brakes, you've got to make sure the studs are short enough to fit the spacers. I don't want the wheels to hang way out, which, they're for Jeeps, they don't matter. So the spacers that they sell are pretty thick. I don't want the wheels hanging out too far. Every time you got to take brakes and stuff apart, usually the inner lug nuts you lock tight on there so they can't come loose under the spacers. So you'd constantly have to fight with that. You got the small bolt pattern, which is going to look goofy on a truck that didn't have small bolt pattern. I maybe wouldn't notice. It's definitely it's a lot cheaper option. I already own all the wheels and stuff like that. It'd be a cheaper option to do, like dollar-wise, but is this the right option? I don't know. I haven't run wheels adapters on anything I run. I know I've seen a bunch of people on the internet run them on all kinds of cars all the time. I'm a little nervous about it. This truck's going to get driven a lot, and I don't want the wheels spaced out and have it look goofy. Like these wheels here are bolted right onto the stock hubs and drums, and there is what it is. They're that front wheel there is identical to that front wheel there, 15x7, probably with a 3.5 inch offset or whatever it is, like neutral offset, so it sticks out about what it is. Like this is the wheel, almost identical wheel to that wheel. So I guess in conclusion, this is a thought process I'm going to have to think about for the future. Oh, I guess I should explain. In case you didn't know, I'm cloning this truck. It's Hawaiian blue with like frost beige in the bottom. My dad built this truck in like 1980, repainted it, and then eventually lowered it and put a louvered hood and louvered tailgate. They did some other things on it, but this is when it was first repainted in 1980 with the bias ply tires. Eventually he put early radials on it, which I'll be running. So that's what I've been working on, cloning this truck. Is like 3 trucks put together, but essentially I'm cloning this 72 step side that my dad had. So that's why I'm in this quandary. Like, I have other wheels I could run. Actually, I have a set of black Steelies with dual bolt pattern that I'm going to stick on the back for now. They got brand new tires I put on my van for Hershey that will fit on the back of this. Just so I got to get these 31-inch tires off, especially before I paint the cab. The truck sits so high, I want to get down, and then the truck's going to get lowered. But the wheels are going to be the last thing I buy. If I can get some rollers on it and drive it around with even steel wheels for a little while till I figure out, make sure everything's good. I don't really want to spend the $800 on wheels plus another like $400 on tires right now. The wallet's a little tight, if you know what I'm saying. That's something to think about. Old school technology wheels versus new school technology wheels. Safety versus dollars. How does it all add up? Get a spreadsheet out. I don't know. Just something I was thinking about today here at the shop. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I got to keep sanding body filler. I'm not covering a lot of the body work because it's kind of boring, but I am going to cover a little bit of it here. I got to do some sanding. I'm waiting for my epoxy primer to set up. It's been kind of gummy sanding on it, and it wasn't the first coat I put on this truck. It wasn't that way. So, but I also waited like a month before I started actually sanding on the original coat when I put on it. So hopefully this will take like a week or 2 to set up, and then it'll get less gummy. But I did order the rest of the paint, or the rest of the primer I'm going to use. I ordered some 2K urethane high build primer that we're going to do, cover all this up and do the body work and cover it up and block sand it and stuff like that. And then I did order the paint. I just ordered from Tamco paint online. I ordered 2 gallons of Hawaiian blue plus the medium activator, and it's a pine reducer. So I will have all the paint coming here in a couple days. So probably in another month or so, we'll get the body work done on the cab and the inside of the doors and stuff, and the outside of the doors. Be able to paint the inside of the cab, paint the inside of the doors, maybe even paint the outside of the cab. Then we can start reassembly. So it should be getting exciting again working on the truck. I know like body work and primer and stuff's kind of boring, but it's got to get done. I don't know. It's got to get done. I got to work on it. Thanks for watching. Come out to Cleveland. See us. Ted and I will be out there March 28th through the 30th at the IX Center at the airport. Piston Powered Show. It's huge. It's an awesome show. If you're around Cleveland, drive over. It's awesome. I'll have stickers and stuff all in my truck. Check it out. I'm going to go dig through some more wheels and see what I can come up with. I don't know.